Hello, all. I just feel like talking tonight. Actually, I'm gonna tell my half of the false narrative that has been put out there about me. And this is not to try to gain anyone's support. Whether they're family or whatever, or old friends. It's just to even things out. You know, I don't hold any hard feelings against anyone. But I just want to tell my side of the story because I think, I'm owed that. So, probably it had to be at the end of April, after I had the visitation from the Holy Spirit. Things just weren't going well. I mean, they weren't going well before that. We actually have not been intimate in 14 years, and we've been sleeping in separate bedrooms for at least 10 years. So we were more just like friends, partners. We would help each other's, families out and everything like that. And I was fine with that. But then disrespect started coming my way, which I do not tolerate from anyone. I don't think I deserve that. No one deserves to be disrespected, called out my name just because, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or say something crazy or do something crazy to one of the dogs, and yeah, I'm going to defend them. Yes, I'm putting my stuff out there because I think a false narrative has been painted about me, and I feel like I'm being monitored in my house, and he's trying to commit me because last week he says, "You remember about your father?" And I said, "You remember about your father?" My father, he was highly intelligent. He was an air traffic controller back in the 50s during the Korean War, except he served in Japan. I've got to just break it down this way. His maternal grandmother was half Italian and half Blackfeet, from the Blackfeet tribe. And then his dad was, black. I think he was some tribe or something. He had lineage to. And he was just, he was really good looking, and just super smart. But he's very cold, very arrogant. Because that was a time when not many people of color, no matter what color they were outside of the white or Caucasian race, got into positions like that. So he's a pretty smart guy, but he was really, really cold. Just cold. We didn't get along at all. So, yeah. Yeah, I've got off on a tangent somewhere. So anyhow, my dad loved my future ex-husband because I did file for divorce. I filed for divorce last Wednesday. I have another meeting with the attorney tomorrow to just go over some things. I just want to, at this point, I want my freedom. I want my safety. I don't feel safe anymore. I just don't feel secure. And you shouldn't feel that way in your own home. So I know I'm jumping all over the place. I am neurodiverse. I have clinically diagnosed ADHD. I had it since I was a kid, but no one ever got me any medication. They just called me the R word or just said a whole bunch of crazy stuff to me while I was sitting there. But anyhow, and I have generalized anxiety disorder, which I take medication for. And because you got those two things going on, you don't sleep very well. So I have a little bit of insomnia too. So I take medication for that. So I'm not nuts like he has put out there. He's divulged my medical information. I have a pituitary adenoma, which is a small tumor at the base of my pituitary gland, which is at the base of your brain, in the back, right? If I were just drawing it in a picture. if it gets enlarged, it will cause blindness. It is not inside the brain, so therefore it does not cause cognitive failure or anything like that. And if he really cared when I was going to these appointments, because they discovered it maybe about, Ginger was still alive, she was a puppy. I guess about 10 years ago, I was having, some female problems because I was getting ready to transition to the, next part of the life for us older women. And I was looking forward to it. But then they discovered my body was producing things like I was a young woman. And they said that just wasn't right. And so the doctor sent me to an endocrinologist, which is a doctor that deals with hormones and things within the body, why the body functions in certain ways. So we did testing, and she took called for an MRI of my brain, and that's when they discovered the little tumor. And her diagnosis was that I probably had this ever since I was a teenager, because I had crazy hormones back then too. In fact, I had surgery on one of my breasts because I had a cyst, a lump at, what was that, 11 or something like that. Just crazy stuff. So anyhow, that's been put out about me, that my mental health has declined, and he's trying to use that as a basis to have me committed. Plus, since I say, God visits me, and he does. In the Bible talks about in these days, men will dream dreams, and old men will see visions. And he is really pouring his spirit out on a whole bunch of people. Just go to YouTube and just look it up. I'm not the only one, so anyhow, ever since I said this, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to commit her. But I gave it second thoughts. I said, okay, maybe God really didn't tell me I was free, from this whatever this was, I said, maybe he really didn't tell me. So I was having second thoughts, but then an incident occurred. Okay. So I was during a period when I was doing a lot of cleaning and spring cleaning and packing up stuff to give away. So I was cleaning the bedroom in which I was staying, and I had the vacuum cleaner, and I also had taken or had smoked a half of a joint of medical marijuana, which I am prescribed for my anxiety and for my chronic pain, because I served almost 28 years in the Army. So, up until the point, that they gave me my retirement papers, I still was doing PT. I couldn't run very fast or anything because I broke myself up so bad. But, so I'm in a lot of pain. So, and that's all I do is a half. And I actually go to this place. It's called Beyond Hello. And they have pharmacists, board certified pharmacists there on site. And I met with a pharmacist, told him what I was currently taking. Or it was actually a she, told her what I was currently taking. And then she sat down with a pamphlet and explained all the different parts of the marijuana plant, the terpenes, there's all types of things in there. And I learned a lot. So if I get this type that has this, ingredients in it, or this level is high, the cannabinoids or whatever, then it will work on the pain. And then this one will help when I'm anxious, and there's sites out there that tell you about this stuff. So I hope they legalize it for the United States. They need to, because some people are afraid of the stigma of actually going to see a mental health care provider and getting medication. And a lot of people need medication. I'm telling you guys, don't fight it. Don't fight the stigma. It's just like having high blood pressure, or having, maybe you've got some type of hormonal thing going on with, say, your liver. You have to take medication for that. There are hormones in your brain synapses, different things like that, neurons, they fire. And if they're not firing correctly, you need some serotonin or you need some epinephrine or something like that to help zap it back into place. But if you're afraid of that, and if they legalize, marijuana, there are certain strains that actually help with anxiety. Because I tell you, whenever I have, my little half a joint, and if I'm really anxious that day, I do my little thing, and then I find a comedy or something inspirational to watch, and it's more intensified, and I'm just in that relaxed state, But I'm good. So anyhow, he actually introduced me to getting my medical marijuana license. He wanted me to go to this place in D.C., a place that he went to, and I'm like, no, I don't want to go down there. So I found the Beyond Hello, but when I went into my email to use it, in case I needed it as evidence, because I think he's trying to build all this stuff up against me and tell me that I'm crazy so he can commit me or kill me. But one of the two. But anyhow, the email that he had sent me with all the information was gone because I had saved it in a certain folder, and other emails were missing as well, like my passport notification emails. I had made a folder for that's missing, and I'll talk a little about that and at another time. But anyhow, so I was cleaning that room, and I had smoked a half a joint, which really doesn't do a whole lot, and I got dizzy, and when I bent over, I fell and hit my head, and I had all the carpet taken up out of most of the rooms in the hallway there because of the dogs, and I don't want, you can only get it so clean, and I'm real germophobic and bug phobic and whatever else phobic. So when I fell, I hit my head very hard enough for it felt like my neck and everything was twisting, and my body was thriving off the floor. I was going into some type of convulsion or something, and it was horrible. I was in total darkness, but my eyes were open, and I felt God there with me. And he says, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then I felt Breeze. She was sitting right there next to me as I was, my head was hitting off the floor, my arms, and it was just horrible. So, once I came out of that and I could see again, I just started screaming, and he heard me. He was down on the main floor. He heard that. I know he did. And I said, hey, can you call 911? He says, what do you got going on up there? Just like that. And I said, I think I had some type of seizure, right? Because I've never had anything like that happen before. I guess I hit my head hard enough that it just caused some type of total, I don't know, electrical thing. I don't know. But it was the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. I felt like I was at death's door. God brought me back out of that. But anyhow, so I says, yes, please call 911. And he said, are you sure? He asked me if I was sure. Still from downstairs. So I said yes. So he finally called 911. And I heard him on the phone with the operator, and she was asking him questions in which he would actually have to come upstairs and check on me because he was answering her from downstairs. He had not come up to check on me. And that was my response, as to whether I should continue with the divorce. And God said yes. He said, if you go back, he said, it is certain death for you. So that's why I'm trying to escape this thing now. So, but anyhow, he comes upstairs, and she's asking him questions. I couldn't remember because the room was spinning, and Breeze was right there, sitting right there, because I was laying flat on the floor on my back. And Breeze was sitting at my head. And Raven was outside the door. And he's answering her questions. And then he takes his foot, and he puts it up against my, the side of my shin, and he pushes it to the side as if not wanting to touch me with his hands. And then he bends over and he snatches the vacuum cleaner cord from underneath me, and then just lets me roll back into place. And I'm looking up at him because I'm still dazed. And I'm like, I know he just did not do this. I said, and if he really knew that I actually bought that vacuum cleaner, he probably wouldn't have did it. Okay, I'm sorry. I really am a butthole. But so I have to be, to defend myself. I mean, this is what I've been dealing with my whole life. My family's like this. So anyhow, the ambulance finally came, and I don't know what he told them. Told them I had been drinking. I hadn't had any wine in a week, and I only drink a glass of wine, a night. It just helps to mellow me out after working, and I still do work part-time, and I do auditing and help applied development, gain certifications in the different international standards organization. So I deal with the 9001, the 27001 series. I deal with the DoD CMMC level coordination. It's just something that I just picked up as I transitioned, out to retirement. So, and I enjoy it. So, but anyhow, I don't know what he told them, but they took a blood test and they didn't find any alcohol unless he had somebody, fix the medical test. Like I said, I feel like I'm living inside a crime mystery or something like that, and I'm trying to survive and take care of my dogs. The only reason why I'm still here because of my dogs, and needing to get a place that has a big enough yard because that's why I filed for divorce. At this point, I'm just ready to gain my freedom before he has me committed or kills me, one of the two. But anyhow, what was I saying? So I get to the hospital, and he followed behind, and they get me in the room, and I tell the lady this is what I had, and the lady, she's joking with me and stuff. She said, "You got any more?" And we're laughing, and I'm making jokes with them, and I'm not stoned like he's telling people or anything like that. I don't do that. I do what's prescribed, and actually I'm doing a lot less than the prescription calls for. 130 hits a day. Right? I would not be able to do anything. Out of a half a joint, I think I get maybe 8 hits. No, 130, that is just no. No. But anyhow, so he gets to the hospital. They're getting me hooked up to the, to the monitors and stuff. And I explained to the doctor and what's going on, and he keeps looking over at me, talking about, make sure you tell him about that thing in your head, and I'm like, I said, does he really think that this is, I said, nah. So I just mentioned it to the doctor, and he said, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I said, you'll actually see in my records that I just recently had another MRI. I said I have to get it screened every 2 years, and it has not grown. I said they think I've had this since I was a teenager, and people live to 100 years old with these things. I think it's when you have some type of exploratory surgery and have people digging in there, that you probably cause things. So I'm just leave it alone. As long as it's not growing and I'm not going blind, I'm good. So I tell the doctor everything, and then he showed me all these crazy videos, and my head is pounding, right? Because, I hit it on the floor, and it's pounding. And these are these really obnoxious videos that are on Facebook. these little clips, some of them are funny, but some of them is just extreme. And I'm like, would you please stop? I said, because my head is hurting. He's, no, look at this one. Look at this. So I could see the intent, because I do have the gift of discerning spirits, and people think I'm crazy about that. I can see the intent of a person. That's their free will. And then I can also see if there's any spirits or demonic forces operating around them or in them, causing them to act that way, because it's like a certain switch or something like that I can see. And it's a certain facial expression. It's crazy. It's a gift from God, but it's also a curse, because you see it in your family members. And what do? When you try to talk to them about it and stuff like that, they say you think you're better than them, and you think this and you think that, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And at one point I was telling people off, the people that were really, really cruel to other people. I was defending those other people. I called myself Charmaine, the spiritual demon slayer, and the people appreciated that, but that's not what God wanted me to do with that. And I didn't learn that until, like a couple months ago. I had to pass that test, and I finally passed it. At 62 years old, I just turned 62 May 5th. I finally passed the test. And he told me I'm free. I learned to love narcissistic people, because that's what I grew up with. And I became a narcissist myself, except I was like a dangerous one, because I could see with my spiritual gifts, and I would get the advantage, and I could, some people, I had them in tears, I would just say horrible things to them, and I just used the excuse that they were just horrible to other people and they deserved it, but they didn't deserve that, because the way that they were acting, theirs was coming from a place of hurt, and I learned that when I started studying them. Like I said, my doctoral dissertation is in workplace mobbing. I studied these people for 4.5 years, and then I worked around a whole bunch of them, and I'm just like, Lord, help me. I know that I'm supposed to pass these tests, but it's just like, oh my goodness, you got to give me some relief here. I don't know what to do. So I, did my dissertation on it. So I studied narcissistic behaviors and patterns in organizations. And it's the same thing in families, because you have the same personality type, so it's a hard life. It really is. It's a hard life. So he finally stopped showing me those videos, and then he starts telling me how everybody in the family hates me, and my blood pressure shot up, whoop, like that. And people come running in the room, and I'm telling him off. I'm telling him, you are a narcissist, and so are our family members, and my blood pressure, they're trying to calm me down and stuff. And he said, well, you owe all of us an apology, because he told me that when I first told him that the Lord visited me in April. He said, well, if I'm so saved again, because I really had a close relationship with the Lord before I started dating him and then got married to him. But anyhow, then I owed them an apology because of how I talked to them, and I take up for myself. But the thing is, they see the way I talk to them, but they don't see the way they talk to me, which, like I said, God told me I was wrong for being retaliatory. But that's what I wanted them to see. This is how you're talking to me. Why don't you think you owe me an apology? And there were horrible things said to me that I kept my mouth shut about for a lot. I did for a lot. But every now and then I'd be like, Lord, I'm going to have to ask for forgiveness for this one. And I would take a jab. And then they would run back and they would tell him. Okay, yeah, I did say it. But this is what they said to me. But he wouldn't hear that. It was always my fault, my fault, my fault. I was like, okay. So I prepared an Easter. I called it the Resurrection Day apology. And I sent it to my blood family and to my in-laws, including my husband. And yeah, I said some things. But I named everything that they did to me. And I told them I was sorry, for, doing the things that I did to them. I said, but this is what you did to me. So since I sent that message to everyone, it's like, oh, he's just been infuriated, it's crazy. I'm just saying, you owe me an apology too, but I am fine if you don't. I'm fine because I have learned to forgive myself. And God told me I am good to go to my next level. So I'm going to finalize this divorce as soon as possible. That's why I hired an attorney, so he can check records that, I don't have access to make sure there hasn't been any additional loans or liens taken out against the home, maybe forgery. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but just make sure. I want everything checked by court order before I accept any offer or deal. Just protecting myself. And that's all I want, just what we invested in. I don't want alimony. I don't want nothing else. No communication, just whatever we invested in this house. Divide it up, or, by court order, he can buy me out, minus any additional things or liens that have been taken out against here. I will not subsume costs that I did not create. So I'm going to have that checked. So that's why I wanted to put my story out here, guys, because I'm pretty sure, he's monitoring my channel. I have a Norton LifeLock, the big Norton LifeLock, and I, shared it with him and then got in there and I looked, he had taken something with the YouTube channel and had it monitored. I was like, I deleted his account and everything like that. And I've got to change some other stuff too, but I'm just like, I feel like I just feel invaded. Everything just feels invaded, missing emails and just things. So I'm going to go, guys. I love you. Pray for my safety and get this to the authorities. But just pray that it doesn't need to get to the authorities, and that everything will be well. And I am ready for my kingdom spouse after this. Bye.